I'm Darrell Champion, and I'm the owner of the Champion Firm. We're a personal injury law firm based in Marietta, Georgia. We're proud sponsors of the Nickajack Elementary School Foundation. I live in Smyrna with my wife, and we have 2 children. One's about to be in the 5th grade at Nickajack, and the other is going to be in kindergarten. We're here today with Chris Logan, who's the president of the Nickajack Foundation, and Ryan Roy, who I have appointed executive director of sponsorships. I made that title up for him, to talk about all the great work the foundation does. They're going to be launching the Back the Jack campaign in August. Is that right, Chris?
August 25th.
And I want them to come in and talk about everything that they do so that other people who are maybe interested in donating or don't really know what the foundation does can hear more about it. So Chris, tell us first what you do at the foundation and what your role is there.
Well, my role has been president for roughly the past year and a half. It's been a wonderful experience because I've had to learn what the foundation does as well as execute some of the deliverables that we've had. Some of the things that the foundation focuses on, at least primary focus, is STEM type of enhancements is what I'll call them.
And tell us, for people who may not know, what is STEM?
STEM, science, technology, engineering, math. I want to add in, I'll say STEAM with the letter A for arts, and also want to allude to, there's not necessarily an R, but reading, because one of our focuses this year is on literacy and just kids being able to read to grade level. So those are some of the main things that we focus on at Nickajack in efforts to enhance the learning environment. So for instance, I say to people that are interested or that want to know more about the foundation, we supplement where the school and the county cannot. And so we kind of fill in as many gaps as we possibly can.
Now, Ryan, tell us what you do. I mean, I've seen you around, I've seen you on all the Facebook groups, I've seen you on campus. I know we've had a lot of interactions. I gave you a fake job title. Tell us, what exactly do you do and what's your role with the foundation?
Well, so for a number of years, I've been involved with Nickajack Elementary because my first son, Christian, had just graduated out, but I have my younger son, Jaden, who's coming through. He's going to be a kindergartner this year. And my wife and I, as we were looking at the schools that we had options to go into, we chose Nickajack, and the one prerequisite my wife had was we had to be super involved. So my wife has been a room parent. My wife has served on so many levels, but I ran the FBI Dads program at the school. I joined the PTA for a couple of years. I've been on the foundation for the last 3 years as the, what's my title again?
Executive Director of Sponsorships. I made that up. I don't know if he wants it. But
no, I'll take it. And in that role, as the foundation dreams big, I think that's a big thing that we've thought about over the years. They dream big, and we could fill in the gaps that he just described. I said, if we got to dream big, we need to find sponsors to help dream big with us. So we appreciate the Champion Firm being the champion level sponsor of the foundation.
All right, well, happy to do it, and we can talk a little bit about that and the money and what it will be used on. I think some people may have some confusion about the difference between the foundation and the PTA. So I wanted to first ask, is a foundation something that every elementary school in Cobb County has? Is this unique to Nickajack?
This is very unique as far as I'm aware. At least in Smyrna, I believe we're the only one. There may be a second school that has one. County, I really can't speak on how many there are, but every school or most schools have a PTA. But very, very, very few schools have an actual foundation, which makes Nickajack so special and unique in that way. Because as I mentioned, filling gaps in some of the projects we're working on that we'll touch on soon are just amazing that we have as many parents and sponsors and donors that help contribute, and things that we're trying to do that maybe some folks don't know about that I'll talk about in a moment.
Sure.
As well.
So tell us, in the past, what are some things that the foundation has done with the money that it's raised from the Back the Jack campaign?
Well, a couple things that come to mind is teacher grants. For instance, every year our teachers write what I'll say is a request for a grant to do something special within their classroom, and the grants are normally educational. It could be personal development for the teacher or professional development for the teacher. It could be some, I'll say, special supplies for that particular classroom because they're doing some special project of some sorts. The gambit is far. Last year,
let me ask you, aside from the teacher grants, are there any big projects that have taken place?
Yeah.
Like I've seen the playground has a lot of stuff going on.
Well, not only that, I was just going to allude to, for instance, to share your story. I figured this was a great time to.
Awesome. Let's talk about share your story.
Yeah, let's talk about share your story. Last year, well, I want to let you guys talk about it more because I kind of came on the tail end of it, and you guys can kind of go into it better. So feel free.
Yeah, Ryan, talk about share your story and what it is and what the plans are in the future for it.
Share Your Story is an amazing program. It is Share Your Story, and Leap for Literacy is I believe the nonprofit side of it, but it's an opportunity for the kids at the school to write their very first book. And with literacy being such a challenge due to the COVID the last few years, the kids lost that classroom time and that one-on-one attention being taught at home. They didn't get that dedicated time for that literacy aspect. So Share Your Story, being in the school, gave these kids an opportunity to get excited about an opportunity to write and read and see their ideas, their stories put into paper, put into a book that they could each take home. So over 550 students at Nickajack last year went through this. 5 kids got selected to have their book published and illustrated by a professional, and those dollars that are earned through that book, through Amazon and other book sales, go right back to that student, which makes it a really intriguing thing for the kids to be competitive about, right? We're all competitive, and it made them really focus on creating an excellent book for themselves.
So last school year, I think we started it in spring semester, winter semester, like January, that time frame. What's the plan this year? Is this going to start at the beginning of the school year and just go through the first semester? Is it going to go through the whole year?
So the plan is it's an 8-week program, right? And it aligns perfectly for the curriculum at the beginning, end of the year. So the students will start in August this year. It'll be the 8-week program. And because there's a process for those students who win, if you would, or earn the right to get their book published, they will have that published by the end of the year.
Got it. Excellent. Now, Chris, what are some, we talked about Share Your Story, which is a great program, the teacher grants. What are some big projects that are going on at Nickajack that are going to be funded by the foundation?
I'll start with a few in the past that just come to mind. The first one is the sound system in the cafeteria. That was done, was it 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken?
Last year. It was
Last year.
summer.
Implemented last year. So if you've ever been to the cafeteria or when you go, you'll hear a sound system that is way, way better than what they had before. One that's currently going on is our projector that's getting installed in the gymnasium. So we ran into some hurdles in regards to electrical connections or whatnot. So we got delayed in regards to installing it, but fortunately we're on target to have the projector and the screen installed before the start of school. So I'm excited about that one. And then the big one, of course, is the sport court on the top field. This one was a project that we started last year to, I'll say, enhance or improve the play area for the 3rd through 5th graders in particular, because we thought some things were happening at the school in regards to, I'll say, changes of landscaping, for a better choice of words. So we had to pivot our location to the top field, but concrete is poured and the field should be finished, should be finished by the end of next week. So looking forward to that as well.
You use the term sport court. What kind of sports are the kids going to be playing there?
There'll be 2 basketball courts.
Are the kids too young for pickleball? I see everybody playing pickleball.
There is actually, I believe we have lines drawn for pickleball.
Interesting. Okay.
So there's going to be 2 basketball courts because roughly we're talking about a 50-foot by 90-foot space. So it's a nice size space for the kids to play. Basketball, of course, the 2 goals. Foursquare, I believe we have 2 of those. Hopscotch, 2 of those. And then we have multiple lines in for, I'll say, for instance, pickleball, tennis, and a few other sports as well. So it's going to be a multi-purposeful, I'll say, space for the kids to use. And that's just the start for what we're going to try to do on the top field.
Some people may have some questions about the difference between the foundation and the PTA. Can one of y'all talk about that a little bit and what the PTA does versus the foundation?
Sure.
Sure, I'll try to tackle that because I've served on both boards. So the PTA is a national thing, and it's also a state thing. So most schools have a PTA or attempt to form a PTA. And the PTA is Parent Teacher Association. So it's the parents and the teachers collaborating together to fill those gaps in the school. Oftentimes the PTA does a lot of the events at the school, like daddy-daughter dance, or they'll do the
Movie
fall
night.
festival, movie night, the things that really bring the community together. The foundation supplements even further, as he mentioned, the STEAM initiatives that we cover. So the science, the technology, engineering, the arts and math. And basically the foundation is there to not necessarily create community, but to raise funds to fill those gaps. And the sole goal is to use the Back to Jack campaign at the beginning of the year to get those funds for that year to fill the gaps, oftentimes by the Christmas break.
Got it. So with the Back to the Jack campaign, is that like the signature fundraising campaign for the foundation? And what's the goal this year? What are y'all trying to raise?
The goal is $150,000 to raise. We met that goal last
Yeah, let me ask you that. Is this a new goal, or have y'all had that goal in the past?
What was the goal last year? I believe the goal was
150 last year.
Was it 150 last year or 130? I always screw that up.
It seems like it was lower in past years, like maybe 100 at one point. And what was it when you started there, Chris? Or Ryan? What was the goal when you started?
7 years ago, and this was exciting for my wife and I. I remember she walked the school campus and she said, "I had a great experience." She goes, "You know that the foundation raised $70,000." I was like, well, that seems like a reasonable amount of money for
That sounds like a lot of money, yeah.
Right? And I said, well, what do they use it for? And at the time, technology in the school was of importance. We wanted the kids that didn't necessarily have the computers at home or the iPads to be able to touch that technology, because we all know that technology is so important in today's world, but not every kid has those things. So the goal of the foundation back when I started was to get iPads in every single classroom and iPad charging stations so that the kids could have that. And they reached that goal of 70,000. Over the years, a couple years in, they reached 100,000, they hit 130,000, and then COVID happened, right? And there was talk of, should we even run a campaign because people are in a tough spot? Well, we continue to run a campaign, and the Nickajack families and the sponsors continue to show up. And even though in a difficult year, we raised 100,000 that year. So last year, I think we went for 130. Then we raised 130, and then we went to 150 and raised 194 last year.
Wow, 194.
Yes.
That's awesome. Should have set the goal for 200. Get some more champion sponsors.
This is on camera. And I think that is fair.
Sure.
It's fair, and I think one of the things that the board has discussed is we want to make sure that we're really good stewards with the funds that we receive. So we don't want to ask for too much unless we actually can justify what we're using the funds for. The sport court is a big deal. One of the things that's coming up this year is the NASA trailer. I'm excited about that, which is where there's another elementary school that I guess they had a trailer. The teacher was no longer able to run that program, but it's basically a program where kids are working at NASA like they're astronauts.
Interesting, okay.
So I'm excited because...
Can I give some context on that?
Please do.
Yeah, so there was another elementary school that partnered with NASA, and NASA built out a trailer, and this teacher for years had developed this space station, if you would, that is not being utilized anymore.
Okay.
Our amazing principal, Dr. Klein, reached out, found that this wasn't being utilized, and said, we will take it at Nickajack. So she's been working with the county and also with the foundation to, once we acquire that we do the upkeep. We're writing grants, we're doing other things to make sure the upkeep, but that's part of the plan for this year, is that once we acquire that space station, that kids literally get to spend 24 hours, I believe, in this space station.
Wow.
They dress up in suits and they have a real life NASA experience in this trailer.
Sounds
That's
great.
going to be on the Nickajack campus.
That's awesome.
So for me, being what is my title?
Executive Director of Sponsorships.
Executive Director of Sponsorship.
Sure.
I always like to ask this question for the higher end donors. Why is it that you chose to donate at the champion level, which for us is a $25,000 level?
Sure.
Because I like to get into the mindset so that we can find more donors like yourself.
So I think there's a lot that goes into it. I think the first thing becomes, is there a desire on the part of myself and other donors to make some contribution to the community? And then it becomes a question of what are we going to do? Where are we going to use our resources? So for me, I've been extremely fortunate in my professional career to, achieve more success than I honestly ever thought that I would. And so I've always felt a responsibility to give back and to do what I can to help out. It's really about what can I do to give back with everything that's been given to me. So I feel a sense of responsibility for that. And when I look at, okay, where can I use my resources? Everybody has limited resources, even Jeff Bezos, who has way more resources than I do. There's still a limit, right? I mean, you can't do everything. So what is the best use of my money? So for one, I think it has to do with children. So I love kids. I have 2 kids. Children are the most vulnerable in our society. They're at an age where a huge difference can be made in their life when they're in elementary school. So if things go off the rails in elementary school, whether it's from a behavioral standpoint or for education, they're really not set up for success later on in life. They're going to struggle in middle school. They're going to struggle in high school. They're going to become problems and have issues in their life as they get older. That's when you see, okay, society, programs, the government, whatever, having to come in and have an expensive solution to try to fix the problems that exist. So for me, the best way to contribute to society is starting with education. It's starting at the elementary school level where that foundation is built. And it's doing everything that we can to give back. So when I look at the amount of money to give back, it started off with, okay, what were the highest levels? So I always felt like I had the resources to give at the highest level. So honestly, whatever the highest level was, I was going to give at. So when it was $2,500, I gave it $2,500. When it was $5,000, I gave it $5,000. When it was $10,000, I gave it $10,000. Then last year we had this discussion with Stan Tucker, who is started Leap for Literacy in the Share Your Story program, and I wanted to do something to support his organization, but also support Nickajack, and so that's where we had the idea to donate an additional money. And there was not a higher level. What was the level at the time? $10,000. $10,000. So, I've been very fortunate, and we've had some really good years lately at the firm. And so, what I wanted to do was identify a way that I could give back, and there was a need, and what was needed to fund the Share Your Story. I think we'd already given the $10,000. $15,000 roughly was needed for Share Your Story. So we decided to create the champion level of the $25,000. I would love for other people to join us at the champion level. I hope that I'm not the only one. Maybe we can continue to raise that in the future as we identify other initiatives.
In particular, and probably for the PTA as well. One of the thoughts that comes to my mind is I have a second grader and also have a son that's, I guess I call it a rising, not kindergartner, but pre-K, little individual coming up. I'm gonna be around for a while. And for me, my motivation was simply, I wanted to make a difference. I didn't know exactly how that was going to be. Before I joined the foundation, I had no ideas in regards to amounts of money raised and all of those types of things. I'm an engineer. I have a STEM background or STEAM background. I feel as if I shouldn't just sit on my couch. I should use my background to help. It was just that plain and simple for me. And now just being involved in it and just all the different facets on a day-to-day is flat out remarkable that there's members I have to tell them, don't worry, you don't need to know all of this. That much is going on at the foundation right now. So it's just amazing to be a part of it and amazing for people like you to contribute what you do. It's fantastic, I would say that. So thank you personally.
Thank you, I appreciate that. So let's talk about what people can do to support Nickajack. So we've got the Back the Jack campaign coming. People can donate at any level. I mean, there is no level too small. If somebody's got $5, they can contribute $5. But, what are some of the big levels that people can hit? I mean, we've got the $25,000 champion level. We've got the $10,000, that's still called the Diamond Elite level. Correct. And then what other levels exist that people can contribute at?
What is it, Ryan? Go ahead.
So there's gold, silver, and level. And that's $5,000, $2,500, $1,000 levels for corporations, for businesses. But at the individual level, the family level, you could probably speak more to that.
Yeah, because that level is, what is it, $250 per child, or per child or per parent that actually gets the magnet. I know that's a big deal with a lot of parents at the school, is the actual magnet itself. And I believe that level is 200 and
Is it 200 or 250 right now?
I believe it is 200. I didn't think we moved it. I thought it
so
stayed
I
at
think so.
200. So roughly, most parents have 2 kids at the school. They'll donate $400 so they can get the 2 magnets that they can share for that year. And the cool thing is, not only do you get the magnet's going to be new with our new logo that we've already kind of put out there, but we'll definitely have it on the new magnets as well.
And so in addition to individuals giving, right? So you've got, maybe people in the community that have a student there and they donate money. What are some of the other programs that exist? I've heard matching programs that exist. What are those?
Absolutely. So last year, our VP of Revenue, Ivan Ramirez, did a great job of finding a gap in which we raise funds, which was a lot of companies, especially in our area, have corporate matching. Folks that work at Home Depot, folks that work at, I'll say, other companies in Atlanta or in the metro area. And so he's made it possible where as soon as an individual donates, as long as they can identify their company, all they have to do is just put their company name in. We will do the back end work to find who corporate matches. And with the corporate match, we can receive those funds as well.
Excellent. Now, for people watching this video, can they go ahead and donate money before the Back the Jack campaign starts? Is it best to wait until the campaign starts? What would you advise people on the best way to make their contributions?
Our website, you can always donate.
Okay.
So I don't think you necessarily have to wait until Back to Jack. So if you feel inclined to want to donate right now, by all means, go to our website, nesfoundation.com. And there is a link, I believe, called Donate. If it's not called Donate, it's called Gifting. But you can donate right then and there at this moment.
Awesome. Thank you.
So the Back the Jack campaign this year is doing tremendous things, and we need your support. What does that support look like? Whatever you could do as a family. As you watch this video, you see a lot of things that we have going on this year, and we want you to back the Jack. That could look like a champion level. That could look like Diamond Elite, but that could look like a $5 donation, because they all add up. Trust me, we know. Please, back the Jack this year. Your monies are going to empower our future, our kids, your kids, our community. Let's do it together. Back the Jack.